Hi, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the DVC Clubhouse. I am Amy, and I am joined here with Jeff and with Samantha, also known as the DVC Millennial on Instagram and TikTok. And we're going to dive into Samantha's origin story today. So, Samantha, tell us a little bit about your Disney journey. How did you start? How, when, why did you start going to Disney World?
Well, first off, thank you guys so much for having me. So my love of Disney started in 1996. It was my first Disney vacation. And we pretty much did everything. We did Hollywood Studios, Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and then we did a couple days at like SeaWorld and Universal. And my family has been going to Disney pretty much ever since, once or twice a year. So I'm definitely a Disney Parks girl.
So how old were you on that trip?
I was 2 years old, 2.5, and we went at Christmas time, so I got to see, like, Disney really, really done up for the holidays.
That's
So
awesome.
you've really been going for like your whole life.
Pretty much, yeah, I just turned 30 last May, so I've probably been to Disney about 60 times at this point.
Oh, I'm so old.
That's pretty amazing.
Amy, I'm so old.
Hey, that's how I feel. One of my cousins just turned 22 today, and I was like, "Oh god."
She
So
was
then
going on
how did you
she was going on her
go ahead,
first
Jeff?
Disney trip when I was going on my like 50th Disney trip. That's
Oh boy.
scary.
Yeah, that was I mean, I went on my first Disney trip in it was 1991. So not too much before you, but I was in high school then. So a little bit of a different experience on my first trip than on your first trip.
Hey,
So
listen,
you've
you
been going
guys
now with
just
your
get to
family?
remember the cake castle. I'm sorry. I was gonna say your benefit is you get to remember the cake castle. I don't remember it at all. I've just seen it in pictures and like know I was there, but I don't remember it.
I don't think I saw the Cake Castle in person, and if I did, I think I've blocked it out. Maybe
Yeah,
I
I
did.
never
I must.
I never saw it. I was a Disneyland guy until 2006. So I had never been to Disney
Oh,
World until
wow.
2006. So
So you didn't have to witness that chapter
no,
of Disney World history.
dodged that one for sure.
I don't know what's worse, the barges in Showcase Lagoon or the Cake Castle.
Oh, I want them to go away so badly.
Me too.
Just get rid of them.
So, all right. So you've been going with so you started going with your family. You've been going for your whole life. And so what was it? What is it? What was it about Disney that draws you?
So I felt like for us as like when I was a lot younger, Disney had something for everybody. So it had restaurants for people that were more adventurous, restaurants for the picky eaters, rides for the kids, more thrilling rides once I got to be like a teenager. So it kind of felt like Disney grew with me. Even as I got older, I was never one of those teenagers who was like, oh my God, we're going to Disney. It's just going to be all little kids. This is going to be so lame. Like, I knew there was stuff that I would enjoy doing. And I will say, as I've gotten like older, like late 20s and 30s, I definitely enjoy the slower, more calm rides more again. So it just kind of feels like Disney's always fit, no matter how old I was or what stage in life I was. It's just kind of been the perfect place to go.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
agree. I feel like Disney, as like we evolve, Disney will continue to have something to offer to us no matter where we are in like our life evolution, which I think is why, we can go for, every year and still feel like there's something new and fun, and still with like that bit of nostalgia too, which is, I mean, I think that's what makes it this just that we want to become Disney Vacation Club members, because we want to be able to continue to experience that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I've been going for a really long time. I'm almost 46, and Disneyland all my childhood, Disney World all my adulthood. And I keep saying, every time I go, I want to try something different, something I've never done. And at some point you'd think I'd run out of things, but I haven't yet. So that really speaks to what we have, how lucky we are.
Yeah, I try to do the
Yeah.
same thing every trip, like eat one restaurant where I've never eaten before, or do some type of like enchanted extra that I've never done before, just to try to make it each trip a little different.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Same. I same for me. And I mean, I've been going for a long time too, and I feel like there's still a list of things that are on my bucket list. My bucket list is actually like getting longer instead of shorter, because I keep adding to it. Like, and the trips like are so limited, like you go and I feel like I can do it all, and then I get there and I'm like exhausted by the end of each day. I'm like, I'll save that for the next time. So then when did you learn about Disney Vacation Club?
So one of my mom's best friends growing up, she actually bought into Boardwalk, I believe in like 95, 96 when it was like first opening. So she's been a member for a long time, and we've gone on 2 trips with her. So the first time we went, I think I was like a junior in college. And then the next time we went, I was in my first year of grad school. So we got to stay at Saratoga in a 2-bedroom. So already super spoiled, because we'd always stayed, the 4 of us, in like a regular hotel room. So to have space was cool. And I just remember the second time we went, I was asking her a million questions. I'm like, how much did this cost you? And how does it work? And can you come whenever you want? Or is this like a fixed week? Because we kind of went the same week both times. So she kind of gave me the very like basic overview of DVC. And since I was still like in school, I was like, maybe, down the road when I like get a really good job and get married and start having kids, like maybe then I'll start looking into DVC. But then I just couldn't let it go. So the summer after I started like my first big girl job, I was like, all right, I've kind of put a lot of money aside because I wanted to start saving for a house. And I'm like, but I also kind of want to treat myself. So I looked into DVC again because I was like, well, I want to keep going to Disney and those rooms aren't getting cheaper. So how can I make this work? And I figured out that the 2 trips that I'd booked by myself as an adult were basically my down payment. So then I just kind of went full force and got on the phone on Valentine's Day, had my points the next day, and was off and running.
And so which resort were they selling at that time?
So this was in 2018. So at the time they were still selling Copper Creek. I think it was like 50% sold out at that point. But I chose to go with Old Key West because Copper Creek was just kind of out of my budget at the time. And Old Key being like the extended to 2057, I'm like, I'll be 65. Like that seems like long enough. So I picked Old Key West, and I have never looked back. I love my home resort. I've stayed there a bunch of times. And I think even if I bought in now where Riviera is the choice, I would still pick Old Key West.
Girl after my own heart. Old Key West is my my home resort as well. So I love it there. It's awesome. I'm not sure, but I think you're probably the youngest DVC member that I've met or bought when you were the youngest. Most
I hear that a
people
lot.
that I've met are my age or older. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's great.
Yeah, I bought in a couple months before my 26th birthday. And while I was doing research, I just kept hearing people say like, oh, I wish I bought in sooner. Like, oh, I wish I would have started sooner. And I didn't really want to have that regret. And I also figured I could buy as a single person and then have it paid off maybe by the time I was ready to start like getting married and having kids. So then that would kind of be out of the way. And I'm halfway there, halfway there to paying it off.
That's awesome.
And
Good
I can
for you.
tell you, as somebody who bought into DVC, I think I was 25 years old when my ex and I bought in. I have 20 years of DVC memories, and I'm, 46, and although it's scary because there's only 20 years left in on my beach club contract, that it's just amazing to me that I've owned it for 20 years and have still feel like, I don't, while my kids think that I'm old, I don't feel old. So, I mean, maybe it's because they see me at the end of a long park day and my feet are killing me. Although I have to say, like, they're pretty exhausted too at the end of a long park day. But
Oh, yeah.
I'm just, I'm so happy that I bought when I was as young as I did, because it feels like to be able to have like the majority of my adulthood as a DVC owner just feels like I'm so lucky that that has been my experience for like the majority of my adulthood. And before that, I was going on, my aunt was an owner, so I was going on her points. So it's, having DVC be a part of your life at this point is just, it's so awesome. So what is
Definitely.
your favorite way to use your membership? Like, how do you typically vacation?
So the last couple years I've done more of like long weekends, so like a Thursday to a Sunday or a Friday to a Monday, just because with work it's a little bit easier. When we went in May, that was the first time I'd used my membership for a trip during the week. So we went Sunday to Thursday because I knew I wanted to get a 2-bedroom because we had a bit of a bigger group. And I wanted to not pay as many points on it. So I was able to get a 2-bedroom at Copper Creek for 3 nights and then a 2-bedroom at Bay Lake Tower for 1. So I was able to try out 2 different resorts, and I definitely spoiled myself with the 2-bedroom because going back to a studio in November was very difficult.
So hard, right?
When I bought in, I made my guide's job so easy because I was like, listen, I am a single person. I just want to stay in studios. How many points do I need? And he was like, well, this seems like a good number for your budget and kind of what you're looking to do. And I have very quickly learned that I am not a studios girly anymore. I like I like having a separate living room and bedroom. I like the washer and the dryer. Like it's not going to work in the studios much longer.
Yeah,
Yep.
I used to, when my kids, were born, and when they came along, we always got 1 and 2 bedrooms. But as I've gotten older and I've been doing more solo trips, I have been staying in studios a lot. It has been a long time since I had stayed, probably since 2017 was the last time I stayed in a 2-bedroom at Old Key West. And ever since then, it's been studios. And then on this past trip that I just came back from last weekend, I had booked, it was an intentional split stay to experience different resorts during the holidays. And I had booked a studio at Boulder Ridge, a studio at Boardwalk, and a 1-bedroom at Animal Kingdom Lodge in Jumbo House because it's all that was available. But then I got upgraded on my first night at Boulder at Boulder Ridge to a 2-bedroom. And it was and again, it was like the first time I'd stayed in a larger unit in a long time. And I was like, oh, I forgot how nice this is. And my daughter had her own room. I had my own room. I came back from the parks and threw in a load of laundry and was like excited about it. People are like, why are you excited to do laundry on your vacation? I'm like, well, because I can. And then we had to go to a studio after that. It was like,
Oh
oh
no.
man, that was a tough transition. I thought that we were going to end on a high note by doing the 1-bedroom, but we like started on the high note in the 2-bedroom, and then I was like, oh, how are we ever going to move over to this studio at the Boardwalk? Oh,
It's easy to get spoiled, right? So do
Oh,
you have a
so easy.
favorite resort that how many of them have you stayed at?
So for the Walt Disney World resorts, I've stayed at every single one except for Grand Floridian, which I will
Okay.
be crossing off the list in February.
Nice.
So very excited to finally finish that. My goal was to do all of them before I turned 30, but then the world shut down, so that kind of threw a wrench in that plan. So I will be done all of them before I'm 31.
Nice.
But favorite resort, this is always a hard question because I love like 3 of them for very different reasons. So they're kind of like tied for my number ones.
Sure.
Boardwalk, because I love the theming and it kind of reminds me of home living at the Jersey Shore. So that's a favorite. Riviera, which I didn't think I was going to love as much as I did, but we did a resort only long weekend there and I was like, this is paradise. Like I never need to leave. Like we were just so relaxed, and Topolino's having that breakfast like right upstairs was such a great perk. And then Old Key West will always be in that top 3 just because it's my home resort and it feels kind of like its own separate world within Walt Disney World. Like it's just so relaxing. It's not near a park. So at the end of the day, you can feel like really relaxed after, all that running around. And the fact that the rooms are gigantic is also a big, big perk. So Old Key West will always be in that top 3.
It's funny. I think we're kindred
The thing I
spirits
love about
because it's basically the same thing I've said every single time for the exact same reasons. Other than for Boardwalk, for me, is not so much the theming, but the location. As far like the boardwalk itself, it seems like there's always something to do, and the restaurants. I'm sorry, you can't beat them. I know people have a lot of preference for the Grand Floridian, but I'll take Trattoria any day. Like I love the
Oh, it's so
boardwalk.
good.
Yeah. So
the thing that I love about Old Key West, which I think is so unique out of all of the DVC resorts, and not surprising since it was the original, is that it really feels like a neighborhood. I love like
Mhm.
when you drive around and you see the signs directing you to where the different buildings are, and it says like vacation homes. Um, you just really feel like you have entered into a little town. Like I totally agree with you that it's like its own little world within Disney World. It just feels like you've just entered into like, the area near the hospitality house feels like the town center. And then you have all of these different streets with, these cute little pastel colored houses and with the golf course and then being able to take the boat to Disney Springs. It's like such a nice, it just feels so homey. I
Mhm.
love it there. I really do love it there. And I've stayed there several times with my family. I've stayed there by myself. I've went on a girls trip and we stayed there because it just feels like, yes, the rooms are so big, but there's just this like special feeling about, I don't know, walking around the hospitality house, seeing it's just so pretty. I think it's so pretty. And it is. It's like tucked away in a corner where you feel like you can actually take a vacation from the craziness of your Disney World vacation. I love it. So,
And
have
just kind
you been to any of the other resorts not at Disney World?
Not yet. So we are staying at the Grand Californian when we go in April. But I had to rent points for that because I'm sure it is impossible to stay there if you don't own there. My goal is to go out to Aulani. It's a little bit of a trek from New Jersey, so we have to figure out kind of when we can make that work. I think visiting the 2 beach resorts like Hilton Head and Vero Beach will be a little easier because Vero Beach we can always add on to a Disney trip. And South Carolina isn't an insanely long drive. Like I wouldn't mind making the drive there. So hopefully once we cross California off the list, I can start with the beaches.
Yeah,
awesome.
those are great resorts too.
Yeah, the only ones I haven't stayed at myself are Hilton Head and Boulder Ridge, and I was just kind of been waiting for the refurb at Boulder Ridge to get done so that I can go and cross that one off my list. But I'm looking at spring for that. So you'll love Aulani when you get out there. There's no place better on this earth.
That's
for
what
sure.
everybody raves about it. And I was like, oh, I guess I really have to go. Like everyone says it's the best one and it's just
Yeah,
amazing.
it really is. So how about this? This is a tougher question. What of the resorts that you've stayed at are you like, oh man, I have to go back there? Like, is there one that you just didn't love, or one that you're like, I'd rather stay at Pop Century?
So I have two friends who I know this will upset, but they know my feelings on this resort already. I do not care for Bay Lake Tower in the slightest. It feels so like clinical and modern, and it's just not really my style. And when I'm staying at a Disney resort, I either want to feel super immersed in a theme like you are at Animal Kingdom, or I want to feel like super immersed in Disney. And I just don't get either of those things at Bay Lake Tower. I've stayed in a studio, a 1 bedroom, and a 2 bedroom. And each time I'm just like, this is just not for me. The walk to Magic Kingdom is great because it's my favorite park, but that's kind of all that resort has for me is that walk.
Yeah,
I
I get
agree.
that.
I
Yeah,
answered that question the same way.
yeah, and most people have actually answered it the same way. I'm a little different. I didn't hate it as much as everybody else. We had a big group of us when we stayed there, and we stayed the full week in a 2 bedroom. And I don't know, I really liked the kitchen for some reason. The way they designed the cupboards and all the different pullouts I thought was cool, but I don't know. I'm weird. I'm different than everybody else, so I didn't hate it as
Well,
much.
people rave about the 1 and 2 bedrooms. I think for me, and I don't know if this is as a result of the fact that I have owned for so long, and after they built Old Key West, when they started building Boardwalk and Wilderness Lodge and Beach Club and then Saratoga Springs, they all have the same exact layout. And that's kind of the layout that I have come to like associate with with Disney Vacation Club, and it feels very homey to me. So even if the theming is a little bit different, there's this like familiarity. Um, and having just stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge, I'm not a fan of like the open concept kitchen in the villas where they have like just like that freestanding island. I like in those Beach Club, Boardwalk, Wilderness Lodge, Boulder Ridge, that this kitchen is kind of like its own little square area, which is different, than at Bay Lake, where it is like an open concept with a free standing island. So, but I can see why that would appeal to people. I mean, it's totally just a personal preference thing.
Well, and to
Yeah,
Samantha's
and
point, Riviera, I agree with her. That I think is of all the layouts there is. I don't know what you stayed in there, but the one we stayed at a 1 bedroom during Hurricane Ian, and I think you're hard pressed to find a better designed room than the 1 bedroom at Riviera. It was phenomenal.
yeah, we were in a studio, and I had never stayed in the configuration where it's like the split bathroom. I mean, we've stayed at the Polynesian where it's like two separate rooms, but having like those pocket doors to kind of close everything off, I really liked that layout because it felt like you got two bathrooms for like the price of one. So I do like that in Bay Lake Towers configuration, that in a 1 bedroom and a 2 bedroom, you get that extra bathroom that maybe most people aren't expecting to get. But the kitchen in the studio for me was kind of like the third strike for that resort. Because I did like the idea of it being kind of a separate area. Like it's not the kitchenette that we're all used to seeing where like if you're laying in the bed, you can see the refrigerator. But it took so much space away from the living area. And it was just me and my sister in that room, and I still felt like it was too small. So yeah, it was a good attempt, but it was just not my favorite.
Yeah, I'm actually staying at Bay Lake for 2 nights in a trip in March. I'm doing a split stay, and I'm traveling with my daughter, my sister, and my nephew. And the four of us are going to be staying in a studio at Bay Lake for 2 nights. So
Oh
it should be,
wow.
and he's like 6'1". So,
Oh
and
my
my
God.
daughter is like 5'8". So, I mean, these are not like kids. These are like full grown adult sized children. Um, but the thing that I really love about the Riviera Studios is I do think that they designed it very smartly. I love, first of all, the Murphy beds are so great because not only are they just easy, but you don't have to deal with having cushions all over the studio,
Mhm.
which takes up so much space and makes the room just always look cluttered. Plus, that coffee table fits underneath the actual bed. So when you pull it out, you can slide it under there. And so you don't have this coffee table that you're also needing to navigate around. So you have a lot of space, and you're sleeping 5 people and you still have a lot of space to maneuver around. So, I mean, I feel like if I was staying someplace and I had 5 people and I was staying in a studio, the resort studios at Grand Floridian to me are like amazing, but Riviera would be a close second because they really were smart about that. But have you ever stayed in a 1 bedroom at Grand Floridian? Either of you?
No.
No, studio's only
Or-
for me, and she
or-
hasn't stayed there yet, right? That's next month or next week, next year.
Oh, right. That's the one
Next
resort
month.
that you, right. So I actually earlier today, because I was thinking like, oh, I don't think I've even ever looked at what a 1 or 2 bedroom looks like at Grand Floridian. And I actually really love that layout. So I don't know if you've ever seen what it looks like, but I think it's really pretty. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, it doesn't have the extra bathroom the way that Bay Lake does. But
Yeah, we got to tour one
it's really pretty.
when we did our tour last year. We made our guide show us one because I was curious, because it was right when they re-released it, when the new studios became available and they were selling again. I was like, well, let's go look. And they're nice for sure. For sure. I love them. What's on your DVC bucket list, Samantha? Like, what's the one thing that you haven't done that you want to still do that DVC has kind of opened up for you, or maybe will open up for you?
Oh boy. I'm like Amy, where I feel like my list gets longer every year because I keep finding new stuff that I haven't done yet. So in February, I get to cross off one thing that's been on my list for probably like the last 10 years, which is Keys to the Kingdom. I finally get
Nice.
to do that tour.
Oh my God, you'll love it. It is one of the best things I've ever done, Disney related.
Yeah, so I'm so excited for that. And I wanted to do it in February because the idea of doing it in like August or September when we usually go and it's just so hot, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be a little cooler. And for me, I really want to do like all the different tours. I would love to do a VIP tour, but that's going to take some saving. But for me, like having the room basically already paid for, it doesn't make the other things seem like they're such big expenses. Like going on tours now seems so much more accessible because I already paid for the room. So I already have my annual pass and it's just a little bit extra. So pretty much all the enchanting extras are still on my bucket list because I still haven't gotten to all of them yet. We did plan on doing oh geez, what's the tour? Caring for Giants at Animal Kingdom, like with the elephants. But that was the day that Tropical Storm Nicole hit, so it didn't happen. Maybe next time now. But yeah, all the tours definitely. I think I still want to try for one of the fireworks dessert parties. I've kind of heard mixed things on those, so I'm not sure like how high up on my list they'll be. Anything kind of extra that I can add to a park day to make it sort of like a VIP experience, I'm all about.
Yeah, those fireworks parties get a bad rap for some reason, but I don't know. I've done the one at Epcot, the Frozen one, and the one at Magic Kingdom. Man, we've done that 3 or 4 times, and I love them. I'm not a guy that likes to sit on the curb for 3 hours to get my spot. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
desserts, I don't know. I'm not a super foodie, so for me, it's sweet and it tastes good. So what do I care? But like they're fine. But the fact that you have your own little roped off area, the one at Epcot, I don't think they're even doing it right now, but it used to be, you go and you watch the fireworks and then they take you on Frozen Ever after the park closed, and then you could leave. Like you got the fireworks and the ride for no wait. Like they get a bad rap, but I think they're fantastic. I do. I love them.
I just did one for the first time at Magic Kingdom earlier this year. And I mean, to your point, Jeff, like being able to being basically escorted to like this premium viewing area is great. I mean, I think that the reason why it gets a little bit of a bad rap is because it's expensive. And if you're not a drinker, like because it's like open bar, but you're not really there for that long. So you're not, unless you're like really, really making it your mission to drink as much as you can, you're probably having 1 or 2 drinks and
Yeah.
then, some dessert. So I think there are people that just feel like it's pricey, which it is, but I always feel like I'm willing to try anything once because it's a fun experience, and it does feel kind of fun to like get that VIP kind of feeling when you're being escorted to this great viewing area. Um, so tell us about the DVC Millennial.
So I started a Disney Instagram account back in, I want to say it was like 2019. And originally I was doing the whole like travel agent thing, like trying to promote myself as a travel agent. But then when the world ended, I decided to not do the whole travel agent thing anymore, but I still really wanted to create Disney content. And I was just kind of looking at the landscape of the people that I followed, and I knew I was never going to be like a Disney style influencer. That's just not my gig. I wasn't going to be, obviously not the person who's like showing you how to do Disney with little kids. And I was just not seeing a ton of like meaningful DVC content on Instagram. I mean, there's so many YouTube videos that you can watch about how DVC works and all those different things, but a lot of people don't take as much time as I did researching it, where they watch like 3-hour-long videos in a row. So I wanted to make something that was a little more like bite-sized, where if you just had a question about one thing, you could watch a 30-second reel and kind of get what you needed and come back to it later. So I started during the pandemic doing my little dancing in front of my bookcase reels, like, and I was like, no one is going to watch this and I'm just going to make a fool of myself, but at least we're having fun. But I actually, that was when my account kind of took off, because I was getting all these people who were like, I have no idea how this works, but like I can watch some of your videos back to back and it kind of makes more sense. And I've always had like my messages open. So I say to people like, if you don't understand what I just tried to talk about in 15 seconds, like please send me a message and I will talk about it all day long. So I've gotten to connect with a lot more people, I think, in a more meaningful way than when my account first started. So I love the direction DVC Millennial has taken in the last couple of years.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Like what a great idea. And it's interesting to me because, like, to your point, the Disney umbrella, there's so much, and there's so much secondary and third-party content out there that sometimes it's hard to find a niche. Amy and I are starting this project because nobody else is doing what we're doing, but that's just what a great idea to find your people and just nail it home like you've done. That's great.
Yeah. So hopefully in the next year, I want to start putting things on YouTube, because I find that like people look for room tours a lot more on YouTube than they do on Instagram. So I'm starting to upload content there as well, but Instagram and TikTok will kind of always be my main homes.
And are you DVC? Sorry, Aim. Are you DVC Millennial on TikTok as well? Is that your?
Yep, on everything.
I'm following you right now.
Thank you.
Jeff, are you going to dance on our TikTok?
It's going to happen. Like, I've already planned our first video and it's going to be fantastic. Although you, me, and Chad are going to be the only ones that get it, but it's going to be great anyway.
I will say that as you do it more, you start to feel a little less ridiculous. But that's like within the privacy of your home. I did my first like in park little dancing reel / TikTok on my last vacation in November. I picked the worst spot to do it because I wanted to do something in front of Gertie at Hollywood Studios. Yes. So you know that area, there's always people, it's always packed. So there was like no such thing as I'm going to get this over with and no one's going to see it. Like I had maybe a 10-second window where there was nobody behind me and I made the biggest fool of myself and I just didn't care.
Amy, I just added a new bucket list item. Our TikTok and her TikTok are going to combine one day and it's going to be excellent.
I thought you were heading to Gertie. That was I thought that was going to be your bucket list item, dancing in front of Gertie. So is there anything from a trip that would not make your highlight reel?
Oh boy. I can't think of like anything that really stands out as like, gosh, that was awful. Certainly not after hearing Jeff's story at Animal Kingdom Lodge. I mean, going during like the restrictions where you had to like wear masks all the time inside, that was kind of tough. But we made it work. I have a lounge fly for every outfit. I had a mask for every outfit, so made the best of it. Maybe the only experience that I wouldn't do again is Space 220. And I know that is still like the hot reservation to get. We were lucky enough last December when we went, we got the lounge reservation when they opened those up. So you didn't have to do the full meal. You could just go in and get some like drinks and appetizers. And the elevator ride up was really cool. Like the theming was great, but we paid as much for 2 drinks and 2 appetizers as we did the night before for a full dinner at Steakhouse 71. So for me, it just wasn't worth it, like money wise. The staff was great. The experience was pretty cool, but it was a standard margarita and some fries and some calamari, and that was just kind of it. So I don't know if and when I'd ever go back, just based on that experience.
I did not eat there, but I did go, and this was like right when it opened. I was able to go up to the lounge, do a walk in, and just go and have a couple of drinks. And I'm glad that I was able to experience it that way, because you're right, the elevator ride was really cool. Although I joked that, when you're going up and you're looking at Epcot, the elevator ride doesn't show that Epcot is like massively under construction. So I was like, I'm missing all that construction. Where are those big mounds of dirt? But seeing it once, I was like, okay, I've seen it. And so is there anything else that you want to share with us, or any other memories that you have, or any final wisdom that you want to impart on our viewers?
So I'll share a favorite memory and then some wisdom. So my first trip as a DVC member was to the Polynesian. We stayed in one of the studios, and it was me, 2 of my cousins, and my sister. We did like a girls trip with the 4 of us. And my sister has always wanted to stay at Polynesian, but like it was always just so pricey. We just could never do it. So we didn't tell her that that's where we were staying. Just me and my one cousin knew, but the other 2 girls didn't. So we get to the airport, we get on the Magical Express, and I'm like, oh, well, since we're going to Magic Kingdom, I'm going to have them drop us off at Polynesian so that we can just like walk to the park. And the young girls are like, okay, like whatever. And we get in the lobby, everybody gets their lei, and then we surprise them with a card saying like, this is where we're staying. And like, I still have the video, and their faces are just like, what?
Out loud.
Hey, Eileen and Kira, I have a surprise for you. We're staying here.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
we had such a great time. The room was perfect. Like the whole trip was just so great. And then I went home and bought 25 more points. So you could see that the welcome home stay is effective.
Yes.
But I guess like my parting wisdom is what I tell everybody that reaches out to me on social media about Disney Vacation Club is please, please, please take the time to do your research, because just being in the DVC world, especially like in Facebook groups, I know you guys see this all the time. Like there's so many people who it feels like they bought in and then they're disappointed because they didn't have the expectation going in of like what DVC really was. So people are like, well, how come I can't book at Grand Floridian 3 months out? And like, because those rooms are gone at like 11 months out. So I always tell people, make sure that you really kind of dig in and do your research, talk to someone who's a member who kind of has the experience of actually using DVC before you buy in, because then I think you'll just go in knowing a little bit more of what to expect. And I hate to see people spend thousands of dollars and then be disappointed. So
sure.
yeah, I encourage a lot of questions.
That's great. And what like I said before, what a great idea, and what a great service you're providing to people, just to have those snippets. Like, I'm so excited to get diving into it. I know what I'm doing for the rest of the day. You'll find me on Instagram.
Thank you. I just finished up the Animal Kingdom series because I just stayed there for the first time. I did both sides in November. So I just finished up sharing all the room tours and all the good food we got to eat, all the fun stuff we did there. So I'm excited to do that for Riviera and Grand Floridian in February, because everyone always compares the two. So I'm going to do a whole series of like which one's better. I will probably upset one group of owners over the other, but at least people have the information.
That's awesome.
It is a heated debate, because as you saw, I recently on our Facebook group did the this or that for Grand Floridian and Riviera, and people have opinions.
Yeah.
Well, this was great. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us and to share your stories and your wisdom. It was a lot of fun. It's always fun to be able to talk DVC with people who love it.
Oh, thank you
Jeff,
so
do you have
much for
anything
having
you
me.
want to add?
No, I really appreciate Samantha's time, and look forward to sharing more content with you in the future. And this has been great.
Well, if you ever want to dance in front of the castle, we can make it happen.
Could be a thing. I'll try anything once. So.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. Go head over to the Facebook group and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at DVC Clubhouse. And until next time, DVC you real soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.